The grid. A digital frontier. I try to picture clusters of information as they move through the computer. What did they look like? Ships? Motorcycles? Were the circuits like freeways? I kept dreaming of a world I thought I'd never see. And then, one day... Hold on, that's the wrong movie. Cut. Tron. One of my singular favorite intellectual properties of all time. Tron Legacy, I've always named as my single favorite movie of all time, with Tron the original classic definitely being in the top 3. The world of Tron has always been so beautiful and fascinating to me, from the stunning visuals to the amazing music, all the way down to the writing of the characters, of course. And don't even get me started on the world building. Oh, the grid is one of the most incredible and fascinating worlds I have ever seen, with the potential for a limitless number of stories. As of the current day, the Tron franchise has 2 movies, 1 TV show, and 2 video games. And yes, I will talk about Tron Catalyst later this year, probably sometime after ARES comes out. But today is about the movie in question, Tron ARES featuring Jared Leto. Yes, I know how we all feel about his role in Morbius. I know how strongly we all feel about that. However, regardless about how you feel about him as an actor, he is in fact one of the main reasons this movie exists at all. He's a significant financial backer of this film, and he's a producer, so he's kind of one of the main reasons this film exists. And apparently he's a massive fan of the Tron IP, so, you know, that's pretty cool. I have to give him some kind of credit for playing such a major role in this movie's existence. The Tron fanbase isn't as widespread as other IPs like, I don't know, Marvel or the Funny Freddy games, but the fanbase is extremely loyal and dedicated. Hell, I still have my original Tron DVD from back when the movie first came out. It was like the one thing I wanted that Christmas. But aside from the presence of Mr. Leto, and however you feel about him, what else does Tron ARES have going for it? For starters, it's coming out on October 10th of this year, so we're getting it relatively soon. But I think even more importantly, that I think a lot of people are going to be questioning and wondering about is, how is the soundtrack and the music going to be? If you're only somewhat familiar with the Tron franchise, you'll definitely at least be aware of the legendary score that Daft Punk made for Legacy back in 2010. One of the single greatest movie scores I have ever heard. Quite frankly, Tron Legacy wouldn't be half the movie it was without the sheer energy of Daft Punk's amazing soundtrack. Tron ARES soundtrack, on the other hand, is going to be made by 9 Inch Nails, a hardcore rock band formed in 1998. After the incredible masterwork of Daft Punk, I feel like most Tron fans are probably going to have extremely high expectations for the soundtrack of Tron ARES. And quite frankly, just judging by what we've heard in the trailers, I think it's gonna be a banger. I doubt it'll ever hold a candle to Legacy's soundtrack. That's just too high a bar to meet again. But so far, I'm not disappointed by what we've been shown in the trailers, and so far, it seems like it'll be a genuine enhancement to the movie. So we're at least lined up to have a pretty decent soundtrack. But what about the cast, the actors, and the people who will once more guide us through the amazing world of the grid? Well, we at least know that the dude, Jeff Bridges, is back to reprise his role as Kevin Flynn. Holla frickin' Luya. I love Jeff Bridges. Unfortunately, as far as I'm aware anyway, Bruce Letner. Definitely Letner, yeah. Bruce Box Letner will not be reprising his role as Tron himself or Mr. Alan Bradley. I mean, I understand, the dude's probably exhausted at his age, and that's completely valid. It's just a little sad not to have Tron in, well, Tron. Also, to my understanding, Garrett Hedlund will not be reprising his role as Sam Flynn, and Olivia Wilde will not be returning as Cora. I was reading some threads about how people thought about them sort of not being involved with Tron ARES, and it seemed like a lot of fans were pretty disappointed by this, and like, yeah, kind of understandable because they were fantastic in Legacy, but their story is over. It ended back in Tron Legacy back in 2010. And judging by the trailers, Tron ARES isn't going to be a direct continuation of Tron Legacy, and in my opinion, I think that's a good thing. Forced or unplanned sequels almost never end well. So if this movie ends up taking place in a world similar to Tron, where the grid still exists and Kevin Flynn still exists, but just some other things played out differently, I think that's actually probably a good thing. But let's have a look at some of the other cast members who have character names attached to them, because some of them are pretty interesting. Evan Peters and Gillian Anderson will be playing the roles of Julian and Elizabeth Dillinger. Oh man, Dillinger, I have not heard that name in a while. Edward Dillinger I was one of the main antagonists of Tron, the original classic. His son, or grandson, also named Edward Dillinger, played a minor role in Tron Legacy as the head of NCOM's software and design team. Seems no matter how hard Kevin Flynn tries, he can just not get those damn Dillingers out of his company. In my humble opinion, Tron Legacy had a perfect story, and no matter how much I wish it were true, I doubt Tron ARES will ever reach that narrative height. But that doesn't mean it'll be bad or lack intrigue. There's already quite a bit of intrigue in the trailers I want to talk about. The trailers make it very clear that this is going to be a worlds collide type of story, where we see all manner of programs and vehicles and just anything and everything from the grid coming into the real world. But judging by one of the recent trailers, the programs might not be coming to the real world willingly. Mr. Julian Dillinger gives what sounds like a sales pitch to some army general guys and probably some investors about ARES himself, calling him the ultimate soldier. And from that, I think it's relatively safe to infer that Mr. Dillinger will be using the power of the grid to try and sell an army of super soldiers to the government. So ARES and other programs being taken out of the grid aren't really coming out willingly. They're being manifested here and sold off like a prize. So ARES and the other programs coming out from the grid are being created and taken by force. Obviously, as programs, it's their function to serve their users and the purpose they were made for. But later in the trailer, Elizabeth Dillinger tells Julian that he's not in control of all of this. And I imagine this scene takes place sometime after ARES and potentially other programs go rogue. Because later on in the trailer, Kevin Flynn points out that ARES is a malfunctioning program who wants to live, and he asks him why. And ARES delivers the classic,
"It's just a feeling."
But I believe it might be more than just a feeling. Let's rewind back to 2010. Back in the glory days of the grid, Kevin Flynn found a new species in the digital realm called ISOs, which was short for isomorphic algorithm. They carried actual DNA in their root codes, fully sentient beings that manifested when the conditions were correct. And in one of the trailers for Tron ARES, we briefly see a shot of, you guessed it, digital DNA. In every trailer, ARES says that he and the other programs are looking for something and will stop at nothing to get it. I believe it might be just that, the existence of the ISOs. And maybe, just maybe, ARES himself is an ISO without even knowing it. It would explain why he wants to live and why he can function outside the bounds of his normal programming. Might be a bit of a stretch on the ARES is an ISO theory, but this shot of the digital DNA basically confirms that the ISOs will play some kind of role in this film. But what about Kevin Flynn? In Tron Legacy, he died. Straight up. And it seems that this movie, Tron ARES, acknowledges that in some capacity. In this one shot of Flynn, we can see that he's transparent around the edges and kinda looks a little bit like a hologram. I think it is highly likely, whether or not this movie is a continuation of Legacy or not, that Kevin Flynn is going to be some kind of digital ghost. After he meets ARES, he'll likely be a kind of mentor/guide figure. So let's sum up what we know about the plot. ARES and the other programs are being created to be the perfect soldiers so that the Dillingers, or Julian at the very least, can sell them to the government for mad profits. Humanity found something in the grid that ARES and many other programs won't stop until they get their hands on it, and it could very well be the existence of the ISOs. ARES himself becomes a malfunctioning program and wants to live. He will likely be guided, or at the very least counseled, by Kevin Flynn, who seems to be some kind of digital ghost. Worlds will collide, a war will be fought, and damn, that shot of the cop car getting sliced in half will never get old. So there you have it. That's about everything on Tron ARES I could put together, and I hope it was somewhat comprehensive. Regardless about how you or I feel about some of the casting choices, I'm excited for this movie. Even if the plot ends up being kinda mid, we're at least gonna end up with some amazing visual eye candy and hopefully a banger soundtrack. please feel free to leave all your thoughts about Tron ARES and the Tron franchise in general in the comments. I freaking love Tron. I could talk about it all day, so please leave any thoughts and opinions about Tron ARES and the franchise in general in the comments. I will be seeing the movie on day one, and I cannot wait to talk about it. But until then, if you want to see me talk about some other shows or movies, or just watch me play Silksong, feel free to hit the like and sub button. I'd greatly appreciate that. Also, if you really like the way I do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and help me keep this channel running. But that is going to do for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.